Hey guys, I got another power station, and in today's video I'm going to do a complete test and review of this Anker PowerHouse 767. And this thing is heavy, so let's get started. Now let's take 5 seconds and do a quick unboxing. But before I unbox it, I gotta let you know, this thing weighs 80 pounds as shit. So it's not exactly light, and you'll need to keep that in mind when you get it delivered to make sure you have what you need to get it inside of your home. Got it out of the box, and the first thing that I noticed is this thing is solid. So let's get it started up and see how it performs. But before you can start it up, you have to plug it in. The wall outlet power cable is basically the same kind of power cable you'd get with a desktop computer, and it's pretty thick because a lot of power can go through this cable. Moment of truth. Plugging it in banged us up to about 1,370 watts of input, and it says it'll take about 1.2 hours to charge from 30% state of charge. I'm gonna let this charge up the rest of the way, and then I'm gonna see what it can handle with some high power load tests. I wanted to show you guys this accessory pouch while this thing was charging, but it charged up so fast that I missed it. So anyway, comes with a nice little accessory pack to keep all of your charging cables in it. Inside of the pack is also an owner's manual. You have a XT60 to DC charging cable. So this will charge the device using a car charging outlet. And then finally, to achieve those maximum numbers of 1,000 watts of solar input, it comes with an XT60 to XT60 junction box. So you would plug this into the device, and then you can plug up to 5 solar panels in parallel using this junction box. The AC inverter is rated at 2,400 watts max. Now typically when they say something like 2,400 watts max, that means that it will run 1,200 watts continuously and support surges up to 2,400 watts. The manual and the literature for this device doesn't make that distinction. So what I want to do first is test my heat gun, which is rated at 1,800 watts, see if this will run it, and then if it does run that, I'll find something that runs up to that 2,400 watt limit and see if we can hit it. Let's find out. Turning on the AC inverter, I did hear a little click, and that lets me know that the AC inverter is powered on. The heat gun is pulling 1,426 watts, so let's add this little My Heat heater that will put another 200 watts of load on it. With both of those devices, I'm pulling about 1,670 watts. So I do think I have about 750 watts more that I can pull from this. Let's try one more device. This last device is a space heater that can pull up to about 1,000 watts. With the large space heater, the small space heater, and my heat gun, I'm just over that 2,400 watt limit. I'm gonna let this thing run and just see how long it takes to shut down. I really want to know what the limits of the system are, so I'm going to leave these 3 things hooked up, and I pulled out my small air compressor, and I'm thinking that this will trip the circuit. So let's take a look. Okay, so that tripped the circuit. Now I'm going to spike it with the air compressor and then see what I can add to it. I reset the system, so it should start up. Let's try it out. This device will power things with a startup load that are a little bit higher than 2400 watts, but I think it'll only run for a minute or two at its max rated load. What I'm gonna do now is let the heat gun, which was running at about 1400 watts, run for the rest of the battery life just to see if it will run that above 1200 watts. The reason I'm saying this is 1200 watts would typically be that continuous load supported rating with a max of 2400 watts, which we have just proven, but will it run a load greater than 1200 watts for a substantial amount of time? Let's find out. The power station says it'll run this load for about an hour, so I'm gonna let it run down and find out if it will run this for an hour. The heat gun ran for about 1 hour. It did pull a consistent 1,430 watts for the entire hour. So overall, I'm satisfied with the AC inverter's performance during my testing. I have a 200 watt solar panel on the roof of my minivan camper. That is the largest solar panel array that I currently have, but let's plug it in and see what we get inside of the Anker PowerHouse. We have this XT60 junction box or hub. We're not gonna use that right now. Fortunately, I have from another solar panel this XT60 to MC4 adapter, and MC4 is what I have my solar panel on my roof rigged up for. So what I'm gonna do is hook this into the solar panel and then see what I get inside the Anker PowerHouse. Pardon my mess inside of the minivan. I have a couple of MC4 cables I'm gonna dig out from under the bottom here. Luckily, I have plenty of cable, but having such a long cable for my solar panel could actually cause a little bit of voltage drop, making me get less power into the power station. I'm just gonna plug that right in, and hopefully I didn't let the smoke out of the power station. So with today's sunlight, and obviously the sun is not at its highest, I'm getting about 76 watts from the 200 watt solar panel. This doesn't surprise me. Typically in these kind of weather conditions, I get 25 to 50% of the capability from that solar panel. If I had a folding panel, I'd be able to lay that out directly in the sunlight and get almost the maximum power out of that panel. The benefit for me is that that panel is always on my roof. I never have to worry about it. Whenever it's exposed to the sun, I am getting a little bit of power. The downside to that is I don't get maximum power at almost any point throughout the day. But with that 200 watt solar panel, sometimes I can pull in up to about 1,000 watts in an entire day. So the trade-off for me isn't that bad. At that 75 watts of input from my 200 watt solar panel, it claims that it'll take approximately 27 hours to charge this device. I think that sounds about fair. If I was gonna use this for an off-grid solution, I would definitely try to max out that 1,000 watts of solar panel input. So I don't want to focus too much on this junction box or hub, but what I do want to point out is if you already have your own solar panels, you won't necessarily be able to use this to plug a solar panel directly in unless it has that XT60 connector. So in my case, I happen to have the XT60 to MC4 cable. I need that to plug into this device. In the video description, I will link that solar panel adapter cable. So if you need one of those, check those links out. So I'm going to clean up this mess that I've made, put all these cables in here, and I'm going to just let this thing sit and charge all day and see what kind of power I get for the entire rest of the day's sunlight. Before I load this back into the minivan camper, there is one feature I've got to point out. This handle is amazing. It is a little bit of an odd design because it comes straight out of the front, but what it allows you to do is just lift this thing up nice and easy and stand it up on its side. So what I'll do right now is I'll walk around this parking lot a little bit and just drag this thing around and see how those wheels hold up. This is not the first power station that I've had that has wheels on it. I've also had some mini fridges that have wheels on them, but these actually have a rubbery coating. So when I'm going down the pavement here, I'm not hearing that clankety clank almost of like a cheap wheel. It feels solid and durable, and it almost feels like the same quality that you can imagine with a good set of walking shoes. How will I know? Time will tell, but my initial impressions are these wheels are not that bad. In addition to those wheels having that rubbery feel, there are rubber feet on the bottom here and also on the back holding this up. So when you do stand this up in this configuration, you're not banging up the plastic. It actually feels pretty good, pretty solid. It's not gonna break anything. There is one thing I don't like about this design, and it's the fact that these outlets are on the back of the device. It normally wouldn't be a big deal, but when I plug this in my minivan camper, I had to be cognizant of where I put it so that I don't rip this thing off. I would have preferred that the outlets were under these handles, giving a little bit of space as this thing might shift around and bump into a wall to prevent the cables from breaking. So there are a couple of things to keep in mind when you're charging this with solar panels. It does have a threshold between 11 and 32 volts for solar panel input, where it will only go up to 10 amps. From 33 volts to 60 volts, it will take up to 20 amps. So that's how you would get that 1,000 watts of solar power input. In addition to that, the thing doesn't have self-heating, and as you can see, there's snow on the ground around me. So if the temperature of the device drops below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it will stop charging to protect the cells from being destroyed through cold weather events. Now, that's not a huge problem for me. I don't plan to charge this thing in that cold weather, but if you're truly planning to go off grid and you don't have access to electrical heat, you could possibly end up in a situation where the device is too cold to charge. The PowerHouse has been charging for about 5 hours, and it's gone up from 1% to about 17%. Now, keep in mind, I've only been pulling in about 80 watts over the entire 5-hour period. So in total, I believe I would have gotten around 300 to 350 watts back inside of the device. If I really wanted to maximize that solar capacity, I would have to add at least 3 or 4 more solar panels, but this thing is very versatile. The way I have it set up right now, I could run this mini fridge, I could leave this hooked up. It's cold enough that the mini fridge won't cycle very often, and this thing will last pretty much indefinitely with the single solar panel on it. Now that I've done quite a bit of testing, let's look at the actual features that you get when you buy the Anker PowerHouse 767. The Anker PowerHouse 767 is an excellent all-in-one power station delivered in a highly versatile, ultra-portable package. Anker is well known for selling high-quality electronics that are built to last. The 767 is Anker's flagship system, and its modular design supports battery expansion up to 4,096 watt-hours. The 767 includes a 5-year warranty and is designed to provide reliable use for up to 10 years. Several features make this possible, starting with the lithium iron phosphate batteries. Anker's new GaN Prime charging technology maximizes cooling and conversion efficiency while minimizing fan noise to support 1,440 watts of AC charging. The 767 charges in 2 hours from a wall outlet and under 4 hours with the optional battery expansion pack. The PowerHouse 767 has 3 USB-C ports, and each one of these is rated to put out up to 100 watts. In addition to that, there are 2 USB-A ports, and those are your standard 12 watt or 5 volt 2.4 amp outlets. This also has 2 12 volt outlets rated at 120 watts each, so you can pull quite a bit of power from here. There's also a TT30R outlet. This would be something that you would plug into an RV or one of those 30 amp plugs. Keep in mind, whether you're pulling from this outlet or these 4 AC outlets, the max load is 2,400 watts. It's been a while since I've received a larger power station like this that has a flashlight. It has low, medium, high, and rave mode. Is there not a rave mode? Okay, so rave mode you have to activate by holding the button. All jokes aside, that's an SOS mode, which you'd probably use in an emergency, assuming the other parties out there know what SOS actually stands for. There's a Bluetooth app you can use to control more or less every function of the power station. I'm not going to go into the details of that right now, but I would definitely check that out, and that would also be the interface that you need to do firmware updates. The Anker PowerHouse 767 is the perfect solution for anyone who wants to have peace of mind during power outages or wants to be fully prepared for the next camping adventure. Check the links in the description for the current price, and a sub to the channel would be electrifying.